Good afternoon, everybody. It is Wednesday, July 29th. I'm sorry, I'm kind of lost since I wasn't here with you on Monday.
Almost August.
Almost August, you're right. And we're right in the middle of the Southern Oregon heat wave. So
it was 90 degrees at 9:30 last night in the Rogue Valley.
Yeah. Slightly cooler at that in Klamath Falls, but
okay.
But hot days all around.
Oh, to be in Klamath Falls. I had a very nice visit to Klamath Falls last week.
Yeah.
I went to the Native American Museum. Klamath Falls, it's a very good museum.
It is. So we are here at the Medford First United Methodist Church, but this is a Bible study that we are doing on 1 John together as our congregations, the Klamath Falls First United Methodist in Medford. So Ben with Medford and me with Klamath Falls. So.
Right.
We usually begin with a moment of centering. Ben, would you center us as we get into the passage?
Sure. Let's take a moment to find some calm. I invite you to close your eyes or look at something that makes you calm. Here we have these beautiful stained glass windows, and find something, a flower or, I don't know, a photo that you find brings good memories. And relax your body. If there are places where you feel tension, try to concentrate on those areas and just letting loose. And we'll take a deep breath. Breathe in through your nose. Fill your chest with air, that life-giving spirit, and then exhale through your mouth. Inhale through your nose. Put your shoulders back. Your arms, your legs, and exhale. We'll do it one more time to find that centering place within ourselves, that place where the Spirit of God is among us. Breathe in through your nose, and then exhale. I do want to add one announcement for the Medford Church to remember that we'll have a brief online service, no sermon, just a prayer and someone sharing a moment about what they've learned during this COVID-19 age. But our full service will be a drive-through on Mistletoe, Side Street, right next to the church. So come join us for that drive-through communion.
Yeah, we will have a lengthy online service at Klamath Falls. Well, hopefully not, but I'm feeling very long-winded this weekend, so we'll see.
Okay.
All right, so let's look at Ben, have you seen Hamilton?
No, I haven't, but I listen to the music all the time.
Right, okay.
But I haven't seen the play.
Well, so it's on Disney Plus. If you are a Disney Plus subscriber,
I don't.
you can.
But you have Disney Plus?
We do, yeah.
Okay, then I'll go to your house and cover up in a mask and watch it.
But you listen to the music, and,
I do.
And that's really kind of what I wanted to talk about as we go in here. Is if you watch the musical or you listen to it, you hear these themes that keep coming up, like reprises in the musical. In Hamilton, one really important line is, "I'm not going to throw away my shot," which is
right.
Both Hamilton's young, ambitious self and at different points where he wants to step into an opportunity to grow, and then, of course, the end in a duel. It's significant there. But it's a theme that keeps coming back. And I think that when we read things like the epistles of John, we have kind of a Hamilton moment of circling back to a similar theme. And in our passage that we're going to read, most of what is in it, John has said before in this letter. But it's like in a musical, the reprise draws it together and draws out some new themes. So moving the letter forward. So let's read this together. It's 1 John chapter 4, and I'm going to start at verse 7 and go right through to the end, 21. Beloved, let us love one another, because love is from God, and everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, for God is love. God's love was revealed among us in this way. God sent his only Son into the world so that we might live through him. In this is love, not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son to be an atoning sacrifice for our sins. Beloved, since God's love loved us so much, we ought to love one another. No one has ever seen God. If we love one another, and his love is perfected in us. By this we know that we abide in him and he in us, because he has given us of his Spirit. And we have seen and do testify that the Father has sent his Son as the Savior of the world. God abides in those who confess that Jesus is the Son of God, and they abide in God. So we have known and believe the love that God has for us. God is love, and those who abide in love abide in God, and God abides in them. Love has been perfected among us in this, that we may have on the day of judgment. As he is, so are we in this world. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, for fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not reached perfection in love. We love because he first loved us. Those who say, I love God, and hate their brothers or sisters are liars. For those who do not love a brother or sister whom they have seen cannot love God whom they have not seen. The commandment we have from him is that those who love God must love their brothers and sisters. So
That's a beautiful passage.
yeah,
It is a beautiful passage.
I mean, it is the coffee mug plaque on the wall kind of passage. You have all those lines of God is love, perfect love casts out fear, all those beautiful lines that we love to quote. But that those first couple verses, I mean, I grew up where we would sing those lines in a song. So it was like, beloved, let us love one another. Love one another. For love is of God, and everyone who loves is born of God, and knoweth God. He that loveth not, knoweth not God, because God is love. God is love. Beloved, let us love one another. 1 John 4, 7 and 8. So, I mean, yeah, so it's pretty much verbatim from that. So, but so I mean, we have seen some of these same kind of lines already in John. It says in here, you cannot say that you love God and hate your brother. Earlier in the second chapter, we had hate your brother or sister. You are a liar and the truth is not in you. So he's circling back to the same themes, and obviously we've been talking a lot about the love of God in this. It's interesting because I think the way that John frames love is different than we see in other parts of the New Testament.
Yes.
We're familiar with the greatest commandment in the Synoptic Gospels, where Jesus says, "Love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself." And he's really quoting the Jewish Shema and the book of Leviticus, Deuteronomy 4 and Leviticus 19, and it's sort of almost a deontological approach. I mean, you're obligated to do this. This is the things that...
You're going to have to explain the term deontological.
Oh, I'm sorry. Deontological. In terms of like, you do something out of duty. God commanded it, so you do it.
The only people who know the word deontological are people who have been to seminary like us.
There's also philosophers. I mean, because
philosophers too. Can't use the word.
deontological ethics. I mean, that's there. But sorry, yeah, but
I get what you're saying.
yeah,
It is a different take on love.
yeah, and so then what John gives us is love in a not a duty submission sense of this is your duty, but this is relational, and it's your identity.
He almost describes it as your higher calling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and we have these significant lines here of God is love. God is love. Twice in our passage it says, whoever does not love does not know God, for God is love. And then later he'll say, we believe the love of God has for us. God is love, and those who abide in love abide in God, and God abides in them. So twice, God is love. And, this is intrinsic. I'm doing another line there, of intrinsic to God's self-identity. God is love. Mm-hmm. In a way that when we read the Bible, we hear a lot sometimes about God's anger. Romans, the wrath of God is being poured out on all flesh. But God's wrath or anger is never described as in a innate part of God's identity, but in the way that love is who and what God is.
Can I add something to this?
Yeah.
An area where you made a little bit of fun of me.
Did I make fun of you?
But it was funny.
Okay.
The way you did it. This verse 17. Love has been perfected among us in this, that we may have boldness on the day of judgment, because as he is, so are we in this world. So he's speaking of love. So when I spoke of, muscular love. Exactly. It's a muscular love. It's a strong, mighty love, because sometimes that we use this use love in the English language, and it can be like love is a warm puppy. And that's not what's taking place here. It is a love that John talked about in the earlier chapter 3 that went to the cross. And it's bold. Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of love that we have. We have a bold love for the world that won't relent.
That is really good, Ben, but you're jumping ahead.
Okay. So, right. And it is your study after all. It's Wednesday.
Well, I think that's where the passage is going, so I just want to get to the stuff beforehand, and then we can dive into 17 and after. But
go for it.
God's love is revealed to us. It is who God is, but we don't see God.
Right.
And we don't see the inside of God.
Right.
So how do we know that God is love other than, John repeats himself here? He tells us a couple of ways. One is God sent his son.
Right.
God sent his son into the world that we might live through him. And he picks that up also saying that as that he gave himself as a sacrifice for our sins. Mm-hmm. So it's revealed to us in Jesus and in the messiness of the cross.
Right.
And the second way that God is revealed as love to us is that no one's ever seen God, but if we love one another, God lives in us.
Right.
And is perfected in us. So getting that thing is we embody the reality of God's love when we love. Mm-hmm. And we show that we live in God when we love. So we reveal our connection to God by loving others. So
that's very well said, right?
Yeah.
Very well said.
Yeah, and this leads back into what you were saying. I mean, that you have the boldness here, and the muscular love. We'll use that term, muscular love.
It's a CrossFit love.
CrossFit love.
A marathon runner.
Yeah, no, go CrossFit. That's good. It fits. It fits. You fit in the way of the cross. And with that bold love is also this idea of casting out fear, to not being.
Boy, could we use that now?
Seriously.
Oh, yeah, this really.
Yeah.
Speak it, brother. Speak it.
So I mean, when we talk about this, right? Love casts out fear, and it says, John says that fear has to do with punishment. I find this interesting. I mean, we have spiritualities that are kind of rooted in divine punishment. Right. I mean, famously in America, and I think it's horrible because Jonathan Edwards did.
I was just going to say
he did understand
Jonathan Edwards.
He
very
did
much so.
He did understand the love of God, like he did, but he's most famous for that sermon of describing God sadistically dangling us like spiders over a flame, and
scaring the hell out of
people. And there is a lot of symbolism in the 18th, 19th, 20th century that was rooted in, if you want people to turn to God, they need to see the weight of their sin and their evilness and and the danger of hell.
Isn't it ironic that in 1 John we have the term Antichrist, which is supposed to be substitute or anti of what Christ is. But in this very book that speaks about love and having no fear, we've turned the Antichrist into something that, scares the EPGBs out of you.
That's true. I mean, the Christ scares us and the Antichrist scares us, and that's now how John describes either one.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Not at all. But we like a scary movie.
Yeah. But beyond spirituality, I mean, like we think of response to the coronavirus, is that people are moved out of fear. They're told to, wear our masks, and some people feel like that's preying on our fears.
Or we could wear our mask because we love our brother and sister.
Exactly. Yeah. That's my point.
Right.
But the flip side of that is those who don't want to wear their mask, they're afraid that they're being manipulated in somehow.
Yeah.
But they're still kind of driven by fear, not out of love and wanting to care for their neighbor in the same way.
Right.
But that there's this move towards fear, but if we understand ourselves as loved and beloved by God, it allows us to boldly love other people.
So much more sustaining.
Yeah.
Fear is like a sugar high; it doesn't last long. But love, that's sustaining. That's
Fear's like
nourishing.
a sugar high. That's like the worst sugar high ever. I mean,
it doesn't last long. It gives you a headache and then it moves out.
All right, fair enough. But also the love really binds us together in community. We are the beloved community.
Right.
And that idea of, and I know I've said this before, but if you say you love God and hate your brother and sister, then you don't love God.
Well,
that's what First John tells us.
Actually, he says you're a liar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Right, but it also means we're not living from the center of. We inhabit God's love. The proof in the pudding is that we overflow in love for our sisters and our brothers.
Yeah, right.
And that's the movement. So I was going to ask you just one simple question at the end, Ben.
Go ahead.
How do we do that?
Next Monday.
Oh my goodness.
I do think this one line here is that I believe this. We're able to love and loved first. So to sustain that, somewhere, a musical song for you. Nothing comes from nothing, and nothing ever would. But somewhere in my youth or childhood, there must have been something good. You can only love because you've been loved. Yeah, I know it. I like musicals.
Well, which one is that? I'm not sure if I know that one.
Sound of Music.
Sound of Music, really? Huh. It's been a while.
Well, thanks. That was a great lesson.
Well, thank you. And I watched yours on Monday, and I was sad to not be part of it, but it was good.
Okay.
All right. Signing off.
Take care now. Bye-bye.
Love you.